Hello friends and welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you're new here. In today's video I created 3 looks with the Nueva Vida palette from Gourmande in collaboration with Steff's Beauty Stash. I really enjoyed working with this palette. Look at that. These are just such colorful and fun colors. I really loved working with this palette. In this video I also tried out the Blend Bunny Cheesy Cheeks blush palette. I also got this very recently and these blush colors are just fantastic. I really enjoyed these blush colors as well. But without further ado, let's just jump into my first look with this beautiful Nueva Vida palette. Before I start with my first look with the Nueva Vida palette, I just want to apply some blush because I got the Blend Bunny blush palette in Juicy Cheeks as well. Look at that beautiful blush palette. Isn't this just gorgeous? I really want to try the yellow blush from this palette. It's called Tangy and I'm a little bit nervous. This is the first time I'm applying a yellow blush. Oh my god. I'm just applying it how I normally would apply my blush. I already can tell that this palette is pigmented, but it's not too pigmented for a blush palette. I think it looks a little weird, but I kinda love it. I can imagine using this blush especially if I'm doing a very bronzy look with a lot of bronzer, which I didn't do today. I did just apply a little bit of contouring to give my face a little structure. I didn't apply any bronzer. I wanted the blush to stand out. But this looks a little weird. I also will apply some on my nose to make this a little bit more wearable on my skin. I can imagine that this looks amazing if you have a more warm undertone, if you have a lot of yellow in your skin. This will look fantastic. So I will use this shade right here. It's called Pulp to maybe... Oh, this is very pigmented. This red is very pigmented. I hope these two mix together to make a more orange shade. Also putting this on my nose and also a little bit on my forehead. I always do that. And so I'm just blending. And then I'm just blending the shades together on the cheek. I like blush and I really love intense crazy blush colors. And that's why I got this palette, because it's so fun and so colorful. Don't get me wrong, I do enjoy a brown blush from time to time or a nude blush, but I also enjoy a blush color like this. But now let's get started. I will prime my eyelids as always with my Sigma eye base. So I want to start with this shade right here. It's called Keep Moving. And I want to build this up in the outer corner. So I should tell you that this palette is smelling. It has this weird chemical smell, and I think it's the glue. That the glue in this palette hasn't completely dried down yet. So it's smelling a little bit. It's disgusting, but I think it will go away in the following days or weeks. I at least I hope so, because this is a really disgusting smell. Pigmentation of the shade is very nice. This is the first time I'm trying out the Gourmande Girls formula, so I had no idea what to expect, but it is definitely very pigmented and it's very blendable as well. So I totally forgot to zoom you in. At least this one shadow is. I don't know about the rest. I will also apply this shade on my lower lash line. So I'm taking a clean blending brush and I just blend out at the edges of this shade. I'm just using some circular motions to blend this shade. I'm also blending what I applied on the lower lash line. So then I'm using my blending brush and I'm using this shade right here It's called Aurora. This is this pale peachy pink shade, and I just use it to diffuse the edges of this eyeshadow even more. So now I'm going back in with my first brush and the first shade I used, and I'm going to re-intensify it in the outer corner. So I'm taking this fun neon orange shade here, and I'm putting it in the front part of this eye look. Oh yeah, this is such a fun color. I really do love it. And I'm blending this together with this purple shade. Then I'm going back and forth between the brush I used the purple with and with my brush with this neon orange shade. I'm also putting this orange shade on my lower lash line, also in the front part, and a little bit in my inner corner. Now it's time for the shimmer. I want to use this fun pink shade. It's called New Life, and it's this pink. It has a little bit of a gold shimmer in it as well. This shade is very pretty. I'm leaving the inner part blank. I'm using the brush I applied the purple with to blend this out. Now it's time for the inner corner highlighter, and I will use this shade right here. It's called The Convertible, and it's this more satiny white shade. It's not like super shimmery. Oh, it is shimmery. I thought this would be more of a satin shade, but this is more like a traditional shimmer shade. It's not super glittery, but it definitely is a shimmer shade. I'm putting this in my inner corner on top of the orange I already applied there, and then I will use it on my finger and put it into the inner part. Oh, I really love that this palette contains a shade like this. I really do love a shimmer white shade. It's one of my favorite eyeshadow shades because I think it goes with every look. With every color you put in a crease, it will just look stunning, and it just adds a nice contrast to your look. Just taking some of the pink shimmer on a brush to blend this pink and the white shimmer together, just so we get a very nice transition between those shades. I really like this look. As I said, this is the first time I'm trying out the Gourmande Girls formula, and so far I'm really enjoying it. But now I'm just going to put on some mascara and a liner in the waterline. So this is my first look using the Nueva Vida palette. I really enjoyed working with it, and now let's jump into the second look. For my second look with the Nueva Vida palette, I really want to play with all the bright colors. I really want to do a very colorful, very bright look. I want to start with this purple right here. It's called Dr. Far. Putting this in the outer corner, I'm just building this shade up and blending it into my outer V. This is a very pretty shade. Yesterday I cleaned all my brushes, and today I cleaned my makeup space, and I'm so happy and proud of myself that I did that. It's just so refreshing if you have clean brushes again. It's just such a nice feeling. I'm just blending it out with a fluffy blending brush using some circular motions. I'm also taking the shade and applying it on my lower lash line. For this I'm always using a more flat brush so I can get as close as possible to my lower lash line. I really love the combination between a purple eyeshadow and a black lip. I think it's just looking so witchy. I really want to use all the bright shades and all the neons and pastels this palette has to offer today, and I just love this contrast between this very deep wimpy lip and just this bright colors on the eyelid. Next I'm going into this pastel purple right here, and I'm blending out this deeper purple with this shade. Next I'm going to use this blue here, and I'm popping it more into the front part, and I really want to blend this together with the purple shade. So I blended these two colors together, and now I'm going into this neon green. This is called Weekend Vibes, and I want to put this more into the inner corner. So these neons and pastel shades, you need to build them up a little bit. But these shades always contain a lot of white pigment in them, so you just need to build them up a little bit, and you need to really press them into your base so you get the color payoff. So I'm pressing this in, and then I'm with the same brush and very light pressure, I'm going to blend this out. So maybe you should use this shade with a white base underneath it. I didn't apply a white base because I thought this would be pigmented enough. But as you see, it takes a lot of building up and blending and building it up again. I feel like every time I'm blending this shade, I take away a lot of the color that I want to be there. Building it up helped it a little bit, and I even took my finger and pressed it on in my inner corner with my finger. That helped it a little bit as well, but this is just not as vibrant as I wish this would be. I mean, I can see my skin peeking through. So next I want to use this orange shade. So I'm putting this between the purple and the green on the lower lash line. So I'm just building this up with this flat brush. And then I want to blend it together with the purple. And also I'm going back in with a little bit more of the green. You do not want to blend them too much, especially with the green, because that can look a little bit muddy. So for shimmer, I want to apply the green shade right here and the purple shade right here. So I'm using, as most of the times, I'm going to use my finger, and I'm starting with the purple shade in the more outer part of my eyelid. Now I'm going to use the green shimmer in the more inner part of my eyelid, and then I'm just using both of the fingers that I have the pigment on to just blend these shades together by tapping where they meet. I'm taking a small brush with some more of the green shimmer, and I'm applying it on top of the neon green I applied on my lower lash line, leaving the inner corner blank. So I still feel like you can see my skin color peeking through the neon green in the inner corner. I don't know if the camera picks it up or not, but in real life you definitely can see my skin color peeking through the green, which doesn't look super nice. So I'm actually using some of the green shimmer and also putting it into the inner corner. So it's looking a little bit more vibrant there. I really think that looks way better than it did before. So I'm a little disappointed in the matte green shade. I really thought it would be more vibrant and more intense. It isn't as pigmented and you cannot build it up very well. I will finish up this look now. I will just pop on a little bit of a winged liner, some mascara and a liner in the waterline, and then I will be right back. And this is the finished look. I really love it. It's just so colorful and it's just so me, and I really love it. I messed a little bit with my mascara, as you maybe can see, and I wasn't quite able to get rid of it. As I told you, I'm not super happy with the green, but I have to say I've used this in an area where I typically do not apply an eyeshadow base. I just apply my eyeshadow base on my lid area, not in my inner corner, and also not on my lower lash line. I'm saying that because I've noticed that the shadows on my lower lash line blended away a lot. Because I just applied here some concealer and I set it with powder. So I've noticed that I've blended it away quite a lot, and I needed to reapply it and really press it on. So this might just be an eyeshadow formula where you have to use an eyeshadow base, even in your inner corner and even on your lower lash line, to make it work. I will try this out tomorrow when I'm doing my third and final look. Now let's continue with the third look. Before I'm doing the third and final look with the Nueva Vida palette, I just wanted to apply my blush because, as you know, I really want to try out this palette in this video as well. I want to do a blue eye look today, so I think I'm going with this very reddish peach shade right here, and I want to place it relatively high. This is actually an highlighter brush, but I like to use smaller brushes for my blush application, especially with intense colors like this. I have to say I really like these blushes. Next, I'm using just a little bit of powder foundation on a very small brush. I'm just going around the edges of the blush. Look at the difference. This side looks way smoother than this side. I want to intensify this blush color just a little bit, so I'm going in with a little bit of this intense red shade called Pulp. I'm just taking a very small amount, like so. So I just removed some excess blush from the brush by just rubbing the brush on a towel. And now I'm blending this more intense red into the lighter red I already applied. So I primed my eyelids with my Sigma eyeshadow base, and as I told you, I also primed in my inner corner and on my lower lash line, what I normally don't do. But as I told you yesterday, I just want to try out if the pastel and neon shades work better applied on top of a sticky base and not on such concealer. For today's eye look, I will start with this deep blue shade. So I'm taking Cooper and popping it in my outer corner. So I'm just taking this brush and pressing this shade in my outer corner, and then with a very light pressure and the same brush, I'm starting to blend the shade on its own. I'm going to apply this shade with a pencil brush along my lower lash line. And then I'm going to take the light shade right here called HO2. This is this very light pastel blue shade. And I'm blending this deep blue shade out with this light pastel. I really do enjoy how this pastel blue blends out this deep blue shade. This deep blue shade is definitely a great match, and the pastel blue so far is performing very good as well. The other two very light shades I've used already, they were a little sheer, but as I told you, maybe it's just how I used the primer. So I definitely want to use the green again today. So I took this pastel blue on a more flat brush, and now I'm blending my lower lash line with this. I always like to use a flat brush when I'm working on my lower lash line. I think it just gives me a little bit more control, and if I use round brushes, I just have the feeling the shadow goes everywhere on my cheeks. Then I'm going back in with a little bit more of the deep blue to re-intensify it, because as I blended this out, it just lost a little bit of its depth. Now I'm going to take the neon green, and that's called Weekend Vibes. I just want to place this shade in the front part of my crease. This shade is already performing way better than it did yesterday. It just needs a tacky base. So if you want to use this on your lower lash line or in your inner corner, make sure that you also put some eyeshadow primer there. I'm also putting this on my lower lash line. The eyeshadow base on my lower lash line makes a huge difference in the performance of these shades. Sometimes you just need to know how to use your shadows. And sometimes it just takes a little time to figure out how to work with a new formula. And that's okay. For shimmer today, I want to use this shade right here. It's called Vacay All Day. And as always, I just take it with my finger and put it on my eyelid. This is a very pretty shade. So when I applied it, I just take my brush I applied the neon green with. I blend this shade out a little bit, and then I grab my blue brush and I do the same for the blue areas. So I'm putting this shade also on my lower lash line. I'm using a very small brush for that, and I'm putting this between the green and the blue. So I'm using this white shimmer shade in my inner corner as my inner corner highlight. This is just such a pretty shade for the inner corner. I really like this shade. I will finish this look up with just some mascara and eyeliner and waterline, and then I will be right back. So this is the finished look. And I would say now let's zoom out and chat a little bit about the palette. So let's first talk about the blush palette. I really do love this palette. I mean, look at it. These blushes are just fantastic. The colors are fantastic, the formula is fantastic. This is a very stunning palette. The Nueva Vida palette is very stunning. The color story is just fantastic. This is so up my alley. I really love these bright colors. It just gives you so much options, and I really do love the color story of the palette. I also really love the quality of the shades. The only thing I noticed, and I told you this during the video, is that I feel like especially the neon shades and the pastel shades like the blue, the green, and the orange shade, you really need to use them on top of the base. Even if you apply them in your inner corner or on your lower lash line, you should use a base in this area as well if you want to use those shades there, because they just need something to stick to. But other than that, the formula is still very good. Especially the deep shades are very nice. They're very pigmented and blendable. Other than the fact that I have to apply an eyeshadow base in my inner corner and on my lower lash line, I have nothing negative to say about this palette. Still a very stunning formulation. I really enjoyed the looks I created, and I really enjoyed working with this palette. So I really hope you enjoyed this video. Please give it a thumbs up if you did, and I hopefully will see you in my next video. Bye!